Welcome, everyone. I'm Tara Sloan Goldstein, and as immediate past chair of UJA Westchester, it is my honor to welcome you here tonight. It is unbelievable that it is 1 year since we stood together as a Westchester community right here in this sanctuary on October 10, 2023. We never imagined that we would be here 1 year later at war on several fronts and still waiting for 101 hostages to come home. Over the past year, we have met with and embraced so many heroes, people who survived the unthinkable, who rescued others, who lost loved ones, whose resilience gives us strength and hope. Our Jewish community will never forget those who were murdered, kidnapped and held hostage, the rapes, the unspeakable acts of violence against mothers and fathers, children and babies, young people at a music festival. So many ordinary people who were living peacefully beside their neighbors. As we stand together tonight, the people of Israel draw immense strength from the power of our collective energy. So thank you to everyone here tonight and to the tens of thousands who will gather at similar events across New York, in Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Long Island, and online. And it means so much that you support Israel. Through UJA, we were able to help the people of Israel from day one of the war through today, and as we look ahead to the future, whatever it will bring. We were able to take care of so many, taking care of victims, soldiers, and displaced communities, providing trauma and mental health support, and helping with emergency preparedness. Israelis have never needed us more, and they deeply appreciate our love and support. On October 7th, 1,200 precious souls were murdered. So we begin tonight with a commemoration of the heroes of October 7th and the men and women who risked all and ran toward the danger to protect, and in doing so, saved hundreds of lives that day. To hold us up, to inspire us, and to lead us in Kaddish, I invite my friend and teacher, Rabbi Menachem Creditor, Pearl and Ira Meyer, Scholar in Residence of UJA Federation of New York.
One year. What else is there to say? 1 year ago, I stood right here, I held my guitar, we sang about building a world from love, having no concept that it would be 1 year. And I remember saying 1 year ago today that I finally understood the Jewish tradition on a day of destruction, Tisha B'Av, during the summer, of not asking someone how they are. It always seemed to me to be this artificial construct. Be sad. Here's how you're sad. Don't ask someone how they are. It finally dawned on me when my heart was crushed with all of yours that the reason on that day of commemorating destruction that we don't ask each other how we are is because there is no need. And I haven't felt it as sharply until today. 1 year. But I have an answer this time. I am hurt, and I am angry, and I am so proud to be a Jew. We are so beautiful as a people. We have always been beautiful as a people, even in our imperfections. Because Zionism, after all, is a statement of Jewish dignity on earth. I have a place in this world, and so do my children, and my children's children. My ancestors bequeathed that to me, and theirs did it to them. So I ask you for a moment, with my still crushed heart, Give yourself the gift of recognizing the unreal resilience of our people. The worst day since the Holocaust. And if we were only measuring the acts of cruelty, in some ways comparable, and in certain cases, maybe even worse. And the ongoing dehumanization of our people has done nothing to dim our lights. Yes, I walk with a wounded heart, and I'm sure you do too. But over the 3 trips to Israel I have been blessed to be part of since October 7th, with some beautiful friends who are here, elected officials and sisters and brothers of the clergy of Westchester, we have stood witness to unbelievable acts of kindness and grace. A Jew doesn't pray for triumph. A Jew prays for peace, for safety. And we are in the middle of holidays that are replete with prayers about a world that makes sense and justice that is enacted and things that work, including God. So what I'm about to say might sound blasphemous to you, but I promise you I say them out of love for God. I am so mad at God. I helped lead prayers in a community over Rosh Hashanah. Who will live? Who will die? Who by fire? Who by sword? So I want to introduce the words of Kaddish with one teaching. And I also want to bring in a very recent teaching. My daughter, who's here, reminded me that we often end our moments of prayer with Kaddish, with the prayer for the dead. It's a strange kind of culmination, but that's usually where it goes. It's probably at the end to make sure everyone gets there in time. But we are opening with Kaddish because we have too many souls to remember, and that is not the only energy that we as a community have been maintaining for 366 days. We are praying for the return of our sisters and our brothers and our babies and our grandparents. We're not saying Kaddish for them. We are demanding their return. So here's the teaching for Kaddish. Then we'll say Kaddish, and then we'll move forward with strength. Not that I feel it, but I'm not allowed to do it any other way. That's what my tradition teaches me. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. When more than one of us are together, there is strength to be found. So here's the teaching. In the middle of Kaddish, some of us know the line. We say, Yehei Shmei Rabbah, may your great name be exalted. But the word for your name, or God's name, Shmei, was understood by the Vilna Gaon, Elijah of Vilna, as a composite of 2 words, Shem Yah, the name of God. And he believed, because he was a mystic, that God's self is broken too. Just like us. Like me, anyway. It's the only way I can understand God in this world is to imagine that even God does tshuva these 10 days. That even God has something to repent for this year. So when we say Yehei Shmei, the Talmud, older than Elijah of Vilna, says we make things a little bit better. We change fate. So before we say Kaddish, I want to ask you a favor. I'm asking you to do a favor for yourself, actually. Believe that the kindness we will maintain in the world will change the fate of our people and the world for the better. Aviva Siegel, who was a hostage for 53 days and whose husband Keith is still a hostage, stood at 59th Street at UJA headquarters and said just 50 days ago, I will stay a good and kind person. That's the language I know I need. I won't let my anger dictate how I act in this world, no matter how much of it I feel. I will make my family proud. We all will. So when we say Kaddish, let us fill ourselves with pride, with gratitude. We are here to say it. We get to do good work. We get to bring our family home and make our people whole. And we are not alone, thank God. We all got candles, or we were offered them. I'm going to ask you to light yours. And we were handed names. Every name you have is the name of someone who was murdered on October 7th. There are more people even than that we are remembering today. I'm going to ask you in a moment, with a whole and broken heart, to rise in body or spirit. I'm going to count to 3 so we do it really coordinated. We're all going to say these names at once. And I'm going to ask you, no matter your belief, I'm imagining we believe differently. Some of us don't believe in God. Just believe that that person's life mattered, and you will do something in their memory, something good, something kind, something strengthening. And then we'll say Kaddish. And if you're unfamiliar with Kaddish, please know this. Just say Amen when you hear other people say Amen. Give each other the strength it takes. So, I'll ask you to please rise. Hold your candle somewhere that it can be seen. And on the count of, I'll do it in Hebrew, Shalosh. Let's say our beloved's names, and then we'll say Kaddish. Achat, Shtayim, Shalosh. Staff Sergeant Ben Rubenstein. Kaddish. Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Shmei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach kirutei, be'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala u'v'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam lomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shmei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Keep those lights lit. Am Yisrael Chai. Please be seated.
Thank you, Rabbi Creditor. Now it is my privilege to welcome the First Gentleman of New York, William Hochul, and to introduce our Governor Kathy Hochul. We are honored that you are with us tonight in Westchester. Special thank you for your leadership, directing flags to be lowered to half-mast on October 7th in honor of the October 7th victims, and landmarks to be lit yellow in solidarity with Israel and the hostages. Thank you for always standing with Israel and the Westchester Jewish community, and for being a voice against all hate. Welcome, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tara, Rabbi, for your powerful and heartfelt words, the AJC, UJA, and Westchester Jewish Council for creating this opportunity for us to share our stories, share our sorrow, and share our tears. And I want to also acknowledge there are many, many elected officials who've joined us here. I want to thank them for being my partners in so many ways as we get through these truly terrible times. You heard Tara, you heard Rabbi Creditor talk about 1 year ago. Let me just put a little more color on what it must have been like 1 year ago. As parents tucked their kids into bed and kissed them goodnight, and others, a little bit older, met and gathered in fellowship, dancing till dawn at the Nova Music Festival. But at a certain point, the sounds of the pulsating music were drowned out by the gunshots and the missiles firing overhead and the trucks arriving, literally stealing people, throwing them into vehicles. And the image of that one young woman off the back of a motorcycle being stripped away into the unknown. And in the homes, the places I visited, as the first elected official to travel to not just Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, but went out to the kibbutzes, literally 1 week after President Biden had been there as well. As he was touching down, or he was leaving, I was touching down. I went to places no American had been to yet. And the photos will never, ever take the real images out of my mind, with the smells, the sights, the people I held. In that moment, as I walked through with a vest, military people surrounding me, not far in the distance, seeing missiles being fired still in Gaza as we were at the border, I walked through homes that had been once places of joy and celebration. And I will not be as graphic as I saw, but I still have the shoes I wore as I stepped through puddles of blood, because I don't know what to do with them. And I was in the safe rooms. Now, these are safe rooms paid for by the government to make sure that if there was an attack, families could gather. They had food stored there. They were just ready just in case. And those safe rooms became rooms of terror, the places where many young women were raped and mutilated. Another image was a family there that every day would think about how they could help their friends in Gaza. They're trying to build relationships. I mean, this is the kibbutz. These are people who came and kind of stepped out of society to raise their children in a place of love and understanding and peace. And there was a certain day every year when this one family would fly kites over the border so they could see a sign of love and friendship. They used to do that at 4 o'clock on this very day every year. I stepped into their home, stepped over the kites that were filled in blood, clothing, shreds, shrapnel was everywhere, holes in the walls. And I said, kind of asking, like the rabbi did, where was God? Why didn't God protect these people? Man's humanity against man is so chilling. We thought it had been left in the history books of the Holocaust, and we always said we'd never forget because it could never possibly get as bad as that again. And the innocent children torn from their parents' arms or murdered in front of them. The young man I saw whose wife and 3 children were stolen in front of him, he found out later they had been murdered. The stories that I heard made me think, yes, it happened again. In our time, in our so-called civilized time, a barbaric group of terrorists, and don't call them anything but terrorists, because that's what Hamas is. And I called it out. Immediately in the aftermath of it, I was back home talking about this, and I was called out by a reporter who said, "Why are you calling them a terrorist group?" And I said, because they are. I once served in Congress, a member of the Homeland Security Committee. They were defined as a terrorist back in 1996. I knew my facts. And while there may be deniers and people in our own state who will not acknowledge what happened on that day, I went for one reason. I had to witness with my own eyes and provide the moral clarity when I returned to stand up to those who would say, oh, well, that was deserved because they did this or that. There's nothing on earth that could justify what I saw and the searing pain that so many still live with today 1 year later. Never. Nothing could justify that, ever. Something else about that journey. The night before I left to head over there, it was late night, I was in the JFK lounge. I wasn't sure if I should call my father and tell him his little girl was going into a war zone. He still thinks I'm his little girl. And he said something that was so quintessential, crusty, old Irish Catholic guy. He said, "Dolly, I'm so proud of you, but keep your goddamn head down." Okay, Dad, I will do that. Little did I know as I was flying across the ocean that my father ended up in a coma that night, and I landed and found out he had passed. My staff immediately said, "We're making arrangements for you to head back home." And I said, "No, you're not. Because I can't bring my father back. I will mourn him later. I am here to comfort a nation." But what I felt in return, as I walked the streets and the story of what had happened was out, and I went to the wall, I had 2 pieces of paper, one for the people of Israel and one I had to have for my dad. I said, "They comforted me." And that was a sign of the spirit and resiliency that you spoke of. It is so embedded in the DNA of the Jewish people. No matter what happened, something so horrific, I could barely comprehend it, and they were trying to comfort me. Extraordinary acts of kindness. It gives you hope. It gives you that sense of endurance through time. And oppression of the Jews is not something new that happened even in our last century. It goes back thousands and thousands of years. And even in our own state, the great state of New York, home to the largest Jewish population outside of Israel, 1.6 million strong. Even a place like that I'm so proud to represent is not immune from horrific acts of anti-Semitism in our own cities, in our own communities, especially here. That's abhorrent to me on so many levels. I came back from that journey shocked to realize that there were people protesting in the streets, not protesting what had happened in Israel, but protesting Israel itself. And what was happening on our college campuses? Threats. I literally flew back from my father's funeral on a Sunday night and got the word that there was an individual who was threatening the lives of Cornell University students. I called the president. I said, "I'll be there for breakfast." I sat down with students, and I said, "You're going to be okay." I went to Hillel. I said, "You're going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you." And I knew I owed it to their parents and to them and all the aunts and uncles and everybody else who had some connection to Cornell that I was going to keep their children safe. And every other campus that exploded in anger and hate and images that we never should have seen. I called up all the university presidents. I said, "There are laws on the books, human rights laws, state and federal laws that I will enforce if you allow for the discrimination of our students on campus, even calling for the genocide of the Jewish people," which is what is meant by from the river to the sea, by the way. That's what they're meant, right? Those are not innocent-sounding words. They're filled with hate. Things are calmer now because I finally think the university president started threatening expulsion, which is what we told them to do. If you violate another individual's right to pass freely on this campus, you should not be on that campus yourself. We're going to continue standing up and fighting. Thank you. But also protecting our synagogues and yeshivas and cultural centers. We have brought more resources to bear than ever in the history of our state. We changed the laws. So hate crimes are now bail eligible. That was taken out, it's now back in. Making sure that we can prosecute those who cross the line. I'm happy to do that. And monitoring social media for those threats by the white supremacists who hate Jews, but also hate blacks. Because I saw that manifest itself in Buffalo, New York, my hometown, when 10 individuals shopping in a grocery store were slaughtered because of the color of their skin. There is hate here, my friends, but I'll tell you this, I believe it to my core. We can overcome this hate. We can push that hate far into the recesses of our minds. We can change the course of history by standing together, all who feel oppressed, because there's more of us than them, I assure you. And as long as we stand united and call it out and are not afraid of those who try to raise an arm against us, let them know the power of our strength. That's how we draw the hope that gives us the strength to carry on. I could tell you so much more. My heart is full of anger, frustration, but also I found some room for some hope. And I'll keep that hope alive with all of you as we stand together and never forget those 1,200 people and the hostages who are still held, including 7 Americans, including our own Omer Nutra from Long Island. I met his relatives when I was there. I met his mom and dad so many times. I've held them. I'm a mom myself. I can't imagine what it's like as we go through another round of holidays again with that empty seat at the table. Thank you for gathering tonight. Thank you for letting me see a visible reminder of what is so extraordinary about the people of this state, the Jewish people, congregations like this, because I see strength in your eyes, an enduring strength that will get us through these times and let people know that the Jewish people are the strongest because they've had to be. I will say this. I will be there at your side. I will be there calling out the negativity and the hatred every step of the way. I will be your ally because you have been mine. I thank you. God bless the people here tonight. God bless the people of the great state of New York. God bless the people of Israel. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Governor, thank you so much for your strong words of support, for sharing your firsthand experiences of being in Israel with us, and for taking the time to be here tonight with us. There are undoubtedly many commemorations of October 7th happening across the state, and it means a lot that you would be here tonight to honor this moment here with us tonight in our community. So thank you. Good evening. My name is Michael Middleman, and I am the president of the Westchester Jewish Council. As we mourn those who were murdered on October 7th last year and in the year that followed, and of course honor those who were killed in defending the state of Israel, we must also remember and pray for the 101 hostages who are still trapped in the tunnels of Gaza. To recite the prayer for the hostages, please welcome our community shlicha, Hila Madar.
Shalom, everyone. While reading the prayer for the hostages, if you have a poster next to your chair, please hold it up. אלוהי ישראל, צור ישראל וגואלו, אל רחום וחנון, בתפילה ובתחנונים אנו פונים אליך, להחזיר בשלום לבתיהם את יקרי עמך השבויים והנעדרות, שנעקרו ביד זדונית מבתיהם ונחטפו אל ארץ אויב. חרדים אנו לגורלם ומבועטים מהמחשבה על מה שעובר על הנעדרים והנעדרות, השבויים והשבויות שלנו. אך ידינו קצרו מלהושיע, ועל כן נושאים אנו תחינתנו לפניך. אב הרחמים, היינה בעזרם והגן בעדם, והשיבם במהרה לחיק משפחותיהם ויקיריהם, כמו שאמרת. הנני שב שבות אלוהי יעקב, ומשכנותיו ארחם. אנא אדוני, קיים במהרה את מאמר הכתוב. והנה אנוכי עמך, ושמרתיך בכל אשר תלך, והשיבותיך אל האדמה הזאת, כי לא אעזבך עד אשר אם עשיתי את אשר דיברתי לך. ושבו בנים ובנות לגבולם. אמן כן יהי רצון.
Achenu kol beit Yisrael, Achenu kol beit Yisrael, Hanetunim batzara, batzara uvashivya, haomdim ben bayam uven bayabasha. Hamakom Yerachem, Yerachem Aleihem V'yotziim Mitzara Lirvacha Ume'afel Aleora Umishibud Ligula Hashta Bagala uvizman kariv.
Thank you. Please be seated. Since our founding, following the Yom Kippur War, the Westchester Jewish Council has worked to connect our Jewish community to one another, to Israel, to other ethnic and faith communities, and to our elected officials. We are very fortunate to have the support of many elected officials here in Westchester, and we're going to hear from two of them now. First, it's my honor to introduce Congressman Mike Lawler, who represents New York's 17th Congressional District. Congressman Lawler.
Good evening. I want to thank UJA, AJC, and the Westchester Jewish Council for putting this beautiful commemoration together. It is unfortunate, though, that we have to be here to memorialize the 1,200 lives that were taken from us and to pray for the hostages that remain. Last year, I went to Israel twice. The first time to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Israel and to witness Speaker McCarthy speak before the Knesset, only the second U.S. speaker to do so. It was my first trip to Israel, and I got to go to the Western Wall, to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, to see the city of David. We got to see Israel for the beauty, the joy, the peace and tranquility that it is. And then just a few months later, I came back, 1 month after the terrorist attack of October 7th, to see the devastation, the pain, the anguish. We met with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and when he started the meeting, he turned off the lights and he played for us a 21-minute video, raw footage, unedited, of the barbaric terrorist attack. I watched in horror as Hamas terrorists brutally beheaded, butchered, burned, maimed, innocent women, children, babies. I watched a father try to protect his 2 young sons, only to be killed by a grenade. To watch these 2 young boys run back into their home, have a Hamas terrorist come in after them, open the refrigerator and take out a soda and drink it, as if nothing happened. The joy, the glee with which they killed Jews. But the part that stood out the most to me was not the visual. It was the audio of a young man calling home to his parents in Gaza, saying, "Mom, Dad, I just killed 10 Jews with my bare hands. Mom, Dad, I just killed 10 Jews with my bare hands." He repeated it over and over and over, and his parents praised Allah. That level of hatred is taught. It is taught in schools in Gaza. It is taught in schools in the West Bank. And disgracefully, it is funded by the United Nations and UNRWA. And sadly, that level of hatred is being taught here in America. It's being taught on our college campuses and universities. It's being taught in our K through 12 schools. And it has to stop, and it has to stop now. In my 21 months in Congress, I have prioritized strengthening the U.S.-Israel relationship and combating anti-Semitism here in America. And that didn't start after October 7th. I started this work the moment I took office. The very first bill I passed in Congress was the Special Envoy for the Abraham Accords. Because the reality is this: if we want peace in the Middle East, if we want a 2-state solution, it requires Arab-majority nations recognizing Israel's right to exist. I'm proud of the fact that in the aftermath of October 7th, we passed the SHIP Act and the Iran-China Energy Sanctions Act to take on the illicit oil trade between China and Iran. China purchases 90% of Iran's petroleum. That is what is funding Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and other terror networks. That is what funded October 7th. The bills are designed to end that illicit oil trade. I am proud of the fact that we passed the IGO Anti-Boycott Act to take on the BDS movement at the United Nations. And I am proud of the fact that we passed the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act to require the Department of Education to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism and all of its contemporary examples, to enforce Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Because let's be clear, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. I was proud to go to Columbia University back in April, meet with President Shafiq, call on her to resign, and stand in front of those students and call them out. Stand in front of those students and call them out for exactly what they are, an abomination. Because anyone that would support Hamas is a disgrace to this country. So as we approach the one-year anniversary of October 7th tomorrow, our hearts are heavy. We're all hurting. I have met with every single family of the American hostages that remain multiple times. 7 families, 4 presumed living, 3 deceased. They are hurting. The only way for there to be peace, the only way for this conflict to end, is for Hamas to surrender and release the hostages and release them now. So I will continue to do the work as your representative in Washington, and I look forward to having a partner in Washington who supports the Jewish community in the 16th Congressional District. Because you deserve nothing less. There is more work to be done. And I will stand by Israel every step of the way. I will not relent. I will not yield. I will not back down. There is no moral equivalency here. Israel is not an apartheid state. It is not an oppressor. Israel is the only multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious democracy in the Middle East, period. It is a beacon of hope. It is a beacon of freedom. They are our closest ally, and we theirs, and we will not yield. God bless the United States. God bless the state of Israel. God bless the Jewish people for your resilience, your strength, your courage, your perseverance in the face of continued persecution. You will always have an ally and friend in me. I'm Israel High. God bless.
Congressman, thank you so much for your strong words, your moral clarity, and unequivocal support for Israel and the Jewish people. It is a salve for our wounds. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And now it's also my honor to call upon County Executive George Latimer.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Like some of the other speakers who've spoken tonight, I had the opportunity to be in Israel not long after the Hamas attack. I was there with other colleagues in local government, Amy Paulin, Justin Brash, Ellen Hendricks, Bill Schrag was there, Yadira Ramos-Herbert, a host of other individuals. And I had been to Israel twice before, but in this particular time, we were feeling what was happening in that country in the immediate aftermath of this horrific attack. And at some level, as we talked after hours, not while we were going through what we were seeing, because for a group of 8 elected officials to be basically silent during a tour of Kibbutz Kfar Aza was quite the moment. But it was that jarring an experience, and the governor spoke of it already. And when we talked about what had happened, we tried to understand what was the motivation of evil that made people do this, that made them hang glide into kibbutz and just murder other human beings, babies and women, senior citizens across the board. What evil could generate this? Just a few days ago, there was a post by Students for Justice in Palestine. And they posted it on some of the college social media, and it said in part, "Death to Israel is not just a threat. It is a moral imperative, and the only acceptable solution. May the entire colony burn to the ground for good." Students for Justice in Palestine. When you see that, you understand the evil that's underneath this. And when you understand that in a quiet voice, you understand why there has to be implacable effort to destroy Hamas. It is not the emotion of anger in the moment. It's a rational understanding of who Hamas is and what they intend to do. And if anybody thinks that their ambition ends with the destruction of Israel, it does not. It is simply the destruction of Western values that they seek. They seek to destroy pluralism and freedom and the ability for people to actualize for themselves what their life would be. And as I saw written once, when we destroy the Saturday people, meaning the Jewish community, they intend to go after the Sunday community, which are those of us who are Christian. In my church today, Church of the Resurrection in Rye, I was very happy to reach a point in the Mass that comes after the homily and before the Eucharist. It's called the Prayer of the Faithful. And generally the pastor or people involved in the church write different things that we pray for, and the lector reads what that is, and then we all say, as a response, we pray to the Lord. One of those bullets today was we stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters in their moment of pain and suffering. When we in county government adopted the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, backed by the Board of Legislators, Vedat Gashi and his colleagues who are here today, and Ken Jenkins and myself, we were standing beside our Jewish brothers and sisters. And a few weeks ago, when by my order we lowered the flags on Westchester County buildings, for which I had the usual amount of criticism, we show that we stood behind our Jewish brothers and sisters. What I hope, and part of my responsibility as I leave here, and my fellow Christians and brothers and sisters who are here, my friend Minister Mark McLean from Generations Church in New Rochelle, and others who are in this room, is that we will go back and tell our fellow Christians that the moral position is to stand beside our Jewish brothers and sisters. That my fellow Catholics and Presbyterians and Methodists and Baptists, we cannot be on the sidelines treating this as this is not our fight. This is our fight of morality as well, side by side with the Jewish people. We believe in democracy and we believe in freedom of religion. Some don't believe in that. Some would force us to change our religious beliefs. But those of us who understand the benefits of freedom in this country understand that we each find our own way to an Almighty. And ultimately, we are better people for it. And that understanding that is as Jewish and as Christian and truthfully as Islamic and Buddhist and Hindu as exists. It's a radical element of violent people that would turn that around and force us to live life by their rules. God help you if you're gay under those rules. God help you if you're a woman that wants to actualize your best career and future. That's tyranny under another name. So no, the students for justice in Palestine do not want justice. They want to do evil. We will stop them.
Mr. County Executive, thank you so much, as always, for your words, for lifting us all up, for standing with us tonight and every day. Thank you so much. It is customary and truly our honor at Westchester Jewish Council events for us to read the names of all elected and public officials who join with us to show that they stand and support our community. Tonight, due to the solemnity of this event, we're going to break with that tradition just now. And instead, I'd like to ask if every elected and public official here tonight can please stand where you are so that we can recognize that you are here and that you've joined us as a group. Please stand. Thank you all so much for being here. And now it's my honor to bring back to the podium Tara Sloan Goldstein.
Now I would like to introduce you to Project Heroes. Project Heroes October 7th commemoration program honors the courageous individuals who played pivotal roles in saving lives. International Israeli artist Gilad Segev used song and video to create this beautiful program dedicated to the great heroes of that day. Project Hero also presents these heroes as a microcosm of Jewish heroism through time. It highlights the special values that define this unique heroism and enlightened humanity. Please welcome Gilad Segev.
Good evening, everyone. You know, we arrived from Israel, and we want to thank, first of all, this community for all the love, for all the support that we get, that really makes our heart so warm. And, you know, when we talk to students, I always tell them, you know, just as you think about us, we also think about you. And we care about you. And in Israel, we are in the front line, but also here there's a front line, an emotional front line, also physical. And we stand with you as well, just for all of you to know. When October 7th happened, I was in deep shock from the atrocities that were talked, but also in a very deep shock from the heroism acts. There were two elements about it. One was the quantity. So many heroes, so many people did such amazing things. They called it the TikTok generation. And for a second, everybody jumps on a grenade for his friends, the Nova people, so heroic. And the other thing was the quality of this heroism, which is so unique. And it is all about something that was in our people for so many years. its values of standing for one another, of saving one another, of equality. And this specific Jewish heroism, as I see it, is not a religious thing, it's not a genetic thing, it's a perception that all of our people held, and that was with those heroes of October 7th so amazingly shown. I want to start this evening singing about them, about a girl, a young woman called Liron Barda. She was at the Nova party working. When things happened, she could have escaped. She could have escaped once and second time, and her family pleaded her to escape. But she stayed to save people she didn't even know. She learned on the spot to give medical care, although she wasn't a paramedic, to those people. And the last time she was seen, she was trying to carry a girl on a gurney to save her. And this song, first of all, is dedicated to Liron Barda from the Nova party. כשהם הגיעו על מרכבות שנאה, היא זו שנשארה, זו שנשארה, ללא נשק, ללא כל הגנה. רק כוח מרפא, כוח אהבה, והיא יכלה ולא ברחה, והיא יכלה ולא ברחה. כי אש אולי תיקח חיים, אבל היא לא תשרוף את הלהבה. אש לא תפגע במי שהפכה להיות לאהבה. הזמן יחלוף, הזמן יחזור, והיא תהיה זו שנשארה, זו שנשארה. כשהם הגיעו מפלצות קנאה, היא זו שבחרה, זו שבחרה להציל חיים, לגעת באנשים של אהבה, שאהבה בעין הסערה. והיא יכלה ולא ברחה, והיא יכלה ולא ברחה. כי יש אולי תיקח חיים, אבל היא לא תשרוף את הלהבה. אש לא תפגע במי שהפכה להיות לאהבה. הזמן יחלוף, הזמן יחזור, והיא תהיה זו שנשארה, זו שנשארה. יש אולי תיקח חיים, אבל היא לא תשרוף את הלהבה. אש לא תפגע במי שהפכה להיות לאהבה, לאהבה. זו שנשארה, זו שנשארה. Liron Barda. The love that we have for each other is so deep. You know, when Rose Lubin was 5 years old, she had people, had little children that wanted to play with her. So she told them, you know what, it's okay, we can play. But when I reach the age of 18, I'm flying out to Israel to be in the IDF. And for me, you know, as a father that is an army general, a brother that I lost in IDF, I cannot think about something so amazing, taking herself out of Atlanta and flying out to be a lone soldier. I know this community have so many lone soldiers, and I want us to applaud the lone soldiers that fly out from here. Separate themselves from their lives and go fight in Israel. When we drove here, we saw the green houses and we saw everything. From this to Gaza, I would say that's a very, very amazing decision. So Rose Lubin, our hero, our lone soldier, this song is dedicated for you. Lone soldier, what keeps you up at night? To cross the world for what you think is right. Lone soldier, they trained you how to fight, to turn around the darkness into light. Your heart is where your heart is at. Your love is where your soul is kept. No matter how far you will have to go. Together with your truth, you'll never be alone. You'll never be alone. Lone soldier, keep right inside. The mirror shows the woman or the child. Lone soldier, always stand up straight, always choosing love instead of hate. Your home is where your heart is at. Your love is where your soul is kept. No matter how far you will have to go. Together with your truth, you'll never be alone. You'll never be your love is where your soul is kept. No matter how far you will have to go. Together with your truth, you'll never be alone. You'll never be alone. You'll never be alone. Rose Lubin. You know, for some reason, our people don't talk about their heroism. And this heroism is what defined us for so many years. It's really hard to say something about you like self-elevating, right? But it's better to say the truth than have some things said about you that are not true. What do we have to lose, right? And I wanted to tell you that today is a special it's a very uniting day. This is a very, very sad day, and those can be seen as like very sad stories. But we don't see it as a bunch of sad stories. We see those people as lights. Those people became lights the moment they did what they did, and we are watching now a spectacle of lights of our people. And the commemoration program is just the beginning of us changing the narrative of our Jewish people from victimhood to heroism. We are the stories that we tell ourselves. So why don't we start telling the true story of who we really are? And it's a story of of people that their heroism was always the best side of humanity, with amazing friends from all of religions and from all of the world to help us light the world. You know, we talked about today, it's the holidays, and there's the Bible we all share. And some talk about the Bible as if something that already happened. But in fact, biblical quotes are still being written. One of them was written by an amazing guy called Yonatan Elazari. Yonatan was in a very safe place in Ofakim city while the terrorists invaded. He heard the shootings, he woke up from sleep, and he could have stayed in the shelter. You know what Yonatan did? He went downstairs with no weapons, and he took stones, just like King David, and he fought the terrorists. Later, he found a gun, and he saved many lives, fought all day long, just to fall and lose his life defending people of Ofakim. Yonatan Elazari is a biblical hero, and there are biblical heroes here among us. And we want to tell you that this is our time, a very special moment in our time to tell our story differently of heroism. Yonatan Elazari. יונתן יושב בחדר עם כל החברים שלו, פתאום שומע צעקות, קרב של יריות. הוא יודע זה זמן ללכת, הזמן שלו. כמו דוד המלך הוא אחז באבן, טיפס על החומות, ריחף מעל גגות, האיר להם את הדרך מול היריות בידיים חשופות. יונתן שומר על הזמן חולף, משאיר את פעימות הלב, הוא לא עוזב את החבר, ואז אומר אל תפחד אל תירא, אתה לא לבד, אל תירא. כמו דוד המלך הוא אחז באבן, טיפס על החומות, ריחף מעל גגות, האיר להם את הדרך מול היריות בידיים חשופות. כמו דוד המלך הוא אחז באבן, טיפס על החומות, ריחף מעל גגות, האיר להם את הדרך מול היריות בידיים חשופות. כמו דוד המלך הוא שכב על אבן, חייך אל הבאות, קיבל את האבות שהראו לו את הדרך וליטפו פניו בידיים חשופות. יונתן אלעזרי. Thank you very much. Toda Abba for everything you do for us. Thank you. Toda. Our hero.
Wow, what an incredibly powerful and moving mixed media presentation to really bring home what Israel has suffered for the past 366 days. Thank you so very much. And just as we derive strength from our brothers and our sisters in Israel, I hope by looking around at this room filled shoulder to shoulder with our strong Jewish community that you also feel that love and that support. So we come here tonight united, strong, to share that burden with our Israeli brothers and sisters to commemorate the atrocities of October 7th, atrocities that still stay with us to this day. And we have powerful leaders both here from our government, and we are honored to have the Deputy Consul General from Israel, Tzak Sar, who has been a friend to the Jewish community since he started a little over a year ago, right before October 7th. So while we live in the diaspora, our hearts are in Israel. Am Yisrael Chai. So I'd like to invite Tzak to come up and share his thoughts with us.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, AJC, UJA, Westchester Jewish Council, elected officials, congressmen, future congressmen, assembly members, senators, local elected officials, thank you very much. You know, for me and for all Israelis, and I know for all of you, it's almost impossible to comprehend that it's been an entire year. 1 year ago today, Hamas terrorists invaded Israel and carried out a vicious, barbaric, and genocidal massacre. It was indeed the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And since then, we've been fighting for survival and for justice. Hamas is still holding 101 innocent Israelis, Americans, and others. They are our friends, our neighbors, our family. I see here just the photo of Omer Neutra, and I meet his parents a lot, and still I can't imagine what they are going through when their son is there. There are still tens of thousands of Israelis who are displaced from their homes in the north and in the south, refugees in their homeland. The world in many ways failed to respond to this terrible wake-up call. Predictably, anti-Semites were emboldened and anti-Semitism skyrocketed around the globe. Anti-Semitism has rocked college campuses most. This trend among youth who are the future, but they are the present, is a 5-alarm fire for a society already simmering with internal friction. And throughout history, Jew hatred has been our canary in a coal mine. An untreated fester of anti-Semitism is always a red alert for a society in crisis, a fact made clear in Gaza, where hate, conspiracy, youth indoctrination, and scapegoating of Jews produced a rabid frenzy of anti-Semitic destruction and ultimately self-destruction. It is also proving itself in Tehran, where the Iranian regime is appearing increasingly divorced from the welfare of its people. And make no mistake, it is equally a warning sign for the Western world. Because when Jews are hunted and attacked because of who they are, it doesn't matter if the attacker is wearing a keffiyeh rather than a red armband, because anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And a values-driven society has just no choice but to confront its anti-Semitic demons. And a society that blames its own problems on the Jewish state will only see those problems escalate forever. And I've seen this firsthand. When anti-Semitic agitators assembled outside our consulate in Midtown Manhattan recently, they chanted terrible things, spewed horrifying rhetoric. They then set fire to the Israeli flag, but to them, that was not enough. Right away, they brought an American flag and burned it too. For a year, we've been doing everything in our power to eliminate terror infrastructures surrounding us, to bring peace to our borders, and to bring our people home. Simultaneously, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, and its other proxies, have used October 7th as a springboard to deliver a year-long assault against the people of Israel and to beat us into submission. But know one thing, we will not let that happen. And Iran's axis of evil is also responsible for the murders of far too many Americans. And we should better believe them when they say America first, because they mean something totally different than it means here in the United States. And countering Iran and its proxies, believe me, it's not easy. But it is essential and much clearer 1 year after October 7th, 2023. It is in the interest of the entire free world to isolate Iran, impose crippling sanctions upon it, and designate its Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps as the terrorist organization it obviously is. So Israel is at the vanguard of these efforts to counter Iran's global destabilization and trail of blood, but it is a fight shared by all. Israel and America have been through so much together, ups and downs, celebration and pain. We share not just interests, but deep-seated values, and the same forces that seek to undermine Israel aim to threaten the democracy, the freedom, the stability of all free nations. And friends, Zionism is a giant leap for mankind in our quest for progress and justice. It is a victory of indigenous rights, a bastion of religious freedom, and also a technological marvel. And when protesters march against Israel, when they chant from the river to the sea, they are marching against America too. They make this clear. They wave the flags of US designated terror groups, and they all too often mock our shared pain. We're grateful that American elected officials across the aisle, especially those sitting here today, have recognized this truth and embodied the requisite moral clarity since day one. Because supporting Israel in the face of the horrors of October 7th, a multi-front war instigated by Iran and via its proxies Hamas, Hezbollah, and others, has nothing to do with politics. It's just called being human. And I am confident that better days will come, but they will not arrive on their own. It will take effort and vigilance and strength. And it starts with every single one of us. And as we mourn the lives taken from us, as we fight for a better Middle East, for a better, freer, and safer world, let us maintain and build on the unity of this past year, which has been a ray of light in this often overwhelming darkness, the unity. Let us channel the spirit of Rosh Hashanah and the Jewish high holidays for hope and renewal. I pray that this year brings peace, justice, and new beginnings for us all. We are all on the same and the right side of history. יהי זכר הנופלים והנספים ברוך, וישובו כל החטופים במהרה לביתם ולגבולם. God bless Israel. God bless America. עם ישראל חי. תודה רבה.
I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Wendy Lubkin, and I'm very proud to be the regional president for AJC Westchester Fairfield. Sak, thank you so much for sharing with us. We feel Israel's pain. We know it has a ring of fire and is fighting a war on 7 fronts. And we know, we heard from so many elected officials tonight, they understand and they stand with moral clarity and they stand with the people in the state of Israel. So we got to hear just a short while ago about a lone soldier, but there are 7,000 lone soldiers that are fighting in the IDF. And we are very blessed to have one with us this evening. He is actually a child of Westchester County, Natan Davids. Natan, if you can join us. I don't think that any of us can imagine sending our children to Israel, but these brave young men and women choose to do this. I can think of no better bound or connection between the diaspora and Israel than Natan. He exemplifies the best of our community, and we are honored to have him share his journey and his story.
At an aroma coffee shop just outside Beersheba 1 year ago, my platoon stopped to put on our knee pads, helmets, and ceramic armor. We loaded our rifles and returned to our Hummer. Looking out at the hilly landscape of the south of Israel, I began to realize that I was driving into a war zone inside my own country. I wrote a goodbye letter to my family in the notes in my phone. As we approached the Gaza border, we began to see signs of the bloody massacre that had taken place. The roadside was littered with hundreds of abandoned cars, bullet-ridden, blackened, some still burning. The road was covered in broken glass. I looked up. Between the autumn clouds and the lingering smoke of rocket interceptions that were going on all the time, vultures and crows circled above. Later, when our mission would be to search for unidentified bodies from the Nova Festival, and again when we would find the remains of hostages buried in shallow graves in the north of Gaza, I would think back on these circling birds. I grew up in the Westchester community. At 5, I started Schechter. 13, my bar mitzvah at Westchester Jewish Center. 15, staff at Camp Ramah, instilling in me a strong Jewish identity and love for Israel. At 18, I deferred Binghamton and took a gap year in Israel. My friendship with my Israeli peers inspired me to enlist as a lone soldier. I could not stand by passively while others gave their blood, sweat, and tears for the country that I too called home. I served in a combat unit from 2015 till 2018. I chose to remain in Israel. I got a degree, I got a job, I even got an Israeli wife. My soldiering a faint memory. On the morning of October 7th, like all Israelis, I had to drop my plans and focus on what was necessary for survival. Within 48 hours, my team and I were deployed to the Gaza border, where we were charged with restoring safety to the area after the destruction brought by Hamas. During those terrible days and weeks and months, filled with fear and chaos, there was also courage. Every day, I saw my fellow reservists, many of them with children at home, go above and beyond their duties without rest. I saw civilians risking their lives amid mortars and rockets to hand-deliver supplies to the front. But the circle of action expanded beyond Israel's borders. My family here in Westchester built a crowdsourcing campaign to send my unit critical gear that we lacked. Many of my former classmates, teachers, co-counselors, and other members of our Westchester community rushed to answer the call for support. Many donated money, some drove across state lines to make purchases, some packed duffel bags in their apartment living rooms, and some used their connections to fast-track the equipment onto planes during a time when most airlines were canceling flights to Israel. They could not necessarily join the front lines, but they rose to the occasion and gave what they could, actions replicated by so many of you here tonight. 1 year later, we are still hurting, but all is not dark. We also see light in the countless acts of courageous people who responded with action rather than leave others to do the hard work. This war rages on, and there's a lot left to do. Tonight, let us remember this fact and gather strength. Let us demand more from ourselves and resolve not to give in to the passivity of exhaustion that we're all feeling. For those who can no longer be saved, and for those many that still need saving, we need more light. We need courage, and we need action. Vayehi ol. Thank you.
Natan did not mention that he is a newlywed. And when we think of hope and we think of joy and light in a year of darkness, Natan and his bride planned their wedding and were married on June 10th of this year. And they are on their way to celebrate their honeymoon. Let's wish them well. Tonight has been incredibly moving and hopeful on a night that is incredibly sad. Exactly 1 year ago, on October 6th, we celebrated Shabbat and we went to sleep. We went to sleep thinking about the Abraham Accords and all that could be for the state of Israel. We thought about the possibility of an expanded peace, a peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And then we woke up on October 7th. We couldn't have anticipated the horrors that began at 6:30 a.m. and continue to this day. As we sit in comfort here, we've heard about the 101 hostages who remain in captivity in those dark tunnels that we saw after the barbaric assassination of the 6 hostages. 20 countries are represented, including 7 from our own. A 7-front attack is being waged on Israel, and we must remain vigilant. We in the diaspora have been fighting our own battles, our own war against hatred and conspiracy myths, the weaponizing of our youths and our professors against Jewish students on college campuses, of some leaders, not those who are here with us tonight, who promote alternative facts instead of real history, of a media that continuously twists headlines, and of social media that is ripe with disinformation. A reality where many in the Jewish community live in fear of publicly displaying their Jewish identity. This is unacceptable. And so I ask all of you tonight to stand with the Jewish community here and in Israel. You are going to be receiving a QR code in a follow-up email from the Westchester Jewish Council. I'm so sorry. Please take action. Please use the QR code. If you don't know how, you just open up the camera on your phone, center it on the code, and you will be taken to a link to act now. Your actions, your advocacy will protect and can protect Jews here, around the globe, and in Israel. Thank you for listening to me tonight with my voice. And now I'd like to welcome TIC's own rabbi, Rabbi Annie Tucker, up to share her words.
Please rise for the prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu Shabashamayim, Sor Yisrael v'go'alo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Ge'ulatenu, Hagen Aleha be'evrat chasdecha, Ufros Aleha sukat shlomecha, Ushlach orcha v'amitzecha l'rasheha, Sareha v'yoatzeha, V'taknem be'etza tova milfanecha, Chazek et yidei meginei eretz kodshenu, V'anchilem Eloheinu Yeshua, V'ateret nitzachon tatarim, V'natata shalom ba'aretz, V'simchat olam niyoshveha, V'nomar, Amen. You may be seated as I am honored to call up my friend and colleague, Rabbi Leora Frankel, President of the Westchester Board of Rabbis, and Bishop Martin Nelson for an interfaith clergy prayer.
Peace will come
through the grace of God,
and the actions of humanity,
compassion and kindness,
forgiveness and love,
patience and gratitude,
justice and mercy,
empathy and understanding,
each act a yearning,
each deed a longing
for wholeness and tranquility.
In our world,
you who makes peace in the highest heavens,
guide our hearts and our hands
in service to each other and your word,
to bring peace to all the nations of the earth,
all people everywhere.
Amen.
Oh, say shalom b'imranav. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu. Ve'kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, amen. Yeah, say shalom. Yeah, say shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen.
Amen.
As we come to the end of tonight's program, I'd like to thank our incredible partners and friends at AJC Westchester Fairfield and UJ Federation of New York, as well as our hosts at Temple Israel Center for making this event possible. I'd also like to thank everyone who had a role, both on the bima and off, in tonight's program. Thank you again to all elected and public officials for coming out tonight. And if the members of the clergy who are here tonight could also please stand and be recognized for coming out this evening. And a special thank you as well to the White Plains Police Department and everyone involved in keeping us safe. And to close out our program, once again, please welcome Hila Madar.
I want to share with you a few questions my children have asked me over the past year. I wrote them down, and here they are translated from Hebrew to English, the very same way they were asked. Why are they fighting us, Mom? Did we do something wrong? Why did they take people? Will they bring the people they took back? Did they take children too? Maybe we can tell them that kids didn't do anything wrong. Why did so many people from our kibbutz live to be soldiers all of a sudden? Do all soldiers have to fight other people? I'm not sure I want to be a soldier when I grow up. These questions embody the profound injustices of our world and our reality over the past year, seen through the innocent eyes of children. They reflect how we have all suddenly found ourselves confronting the most significant questions of humanity: the distinction between right and wrong, the ongoing battle of justice versus injustice, what it means to protect life, and how we bear the weight of loss. My children don't live near Gaza, have not lost anyone they knew, and have only occasionally been exposed to the daily horror of sirens. Yet they sense that something profound has been broken. Since October 7th, while trying to quest for answer, we feel that a covenant has been shattered in ways we are still trying to comprehend. Something fundamental has broken within us. The fractures are evident all around us, and we hold different perspectives on how best to repair them. I think the Talmud offered us an image that speaks directly to this moment. It is written, "Luchot v'shivre luchot munachin ba'aron." The tablets and the broken tablets were placed together in the ark. When our ancestors, the people of Israel, wandered through the desert, they didn't discard the shattered fragments of the first covenant. They carried those broken pieces with them, alongside the whole tablets, and placed them together in the holiest place they knew, the Ark of the Covenant. In this image, I personally find a profound expression of hope. While we cannot recreate the same covenant from the fractures, since everything has changed for us since October 7th, much like the people of Israel did not use the broken tablets for the second covenant, we will carry the weight of these fragments with us. We honor the significance of what has been lost and strive to maintain the belief that in time we will find a way to rebuild something whole. I want to conclude with words that deeply moved me while attending Rose Lubin's funeral in Jerusalem. You saw Rose's story in Project Heroes. Rose was a lone soldier who came to Israel to serve in the IDF. She defended Kibbutz Saad during the October 7th attack with unimaginable bravery. Just 30 days later, she was murdered by a terrorist in Jerusalem. At Rose's funeral, her mother read from the speech Rose gave at her bat mitzvah. when she was just 12 years old. These are Rose's words. Life is an ongoing path of mystery, adventure, and love. It is like one long book. And like other books, it has a beginning and an end. It's hard to believe, but there was a time when I was as young as my little sister, and there will be a time when I am no longer in this world. So what do I do about it? I make every chapter in my book worth reading. I am not going to wait for the world to do something great for me. I am going to do something great for the world. At this moment in my life, I have all the power to make a difference and create a mind-blowing story. Rose's words remind us of the power we still hold in moments of immense loss to make our chapters worth reading. As we close, I want to dedicate Hatikva to Rose, to her family, and to all those in Israel and around the world who are struggling to hold on to hope in the face of such pain. I invite the Shinshinim, the Israeli Mishlachat here in Westchester, to join me and you in singing our national anthem. Thank you very much.
God bless you all. Have a good night. Am Yisrael Chai.